The BBC has found that more than 150 Afghan men who worked as security staff at the British Embassy in Kabul remain stranded in Afghanistan. That's despite promises by the British government to allow them to enter the UK, several having told us they've been tortured by the Taliban. You might find this report by Sima Kotecha distressing.
Some got out, some were left behind, and now some say they've been tortured because they helped the British.
I was sitting outside when gunmen approached me. One of them attacked me. They said you were working for the British Embassy. They started beating me and they threw me on the ground. They attacked me again and again.
He was a guard at the British Embassy in Kabul and still remains in the country. These men worked for GardaWorld, a global security company. His former colleague says he's also been beaten by the Taliban.
Men came to our house and they beat me to a level that I passed out. They thought that I was dead. God knows what else they did to me if they knew that I was not dead.
We've heard several similar stories in recent days, and now Newsnight has seen and verified a list of more than 150 Afghan men who worked at the embassy and still live in Afghanistan. As we've said, some have said they've been tortured by the Taliban, detailing the graphic beatings that they've endured at their hands. In the summer of last year, at the height of the takeover, the government told them that they would be granted the right to enter the UK. And I quote, they said, "We are now working through the challenging logistics of getting them out of Kabul." But 9 months on, and that still hasn't happened. And some say they are facing a daily threat from the militants. And here are some pictures of their injuries. Injuries they say were recently inflicted by the Taliban. A member of their team is now in the UK after his resettlement application as part of the Afghan relocations and assistance policy for those who were directly employed by the British was successful. We've had to hide his identity to protect his family in Afghanistan.
I'm in daily contact with all of them. They hold their documents that show they have worked for the British Embassy, and they are still waiting for any response from the British and for any result to come out, so they're stuck there with no clear idea of their future and what will happen to them. So they have been promised to be evacuated, but there hasn't been any update for them so far.
GardaWorld, the employer for all the men, told us, "Since the closure of the British Embassy in Kabul, we have been working tirelessly with the UK government to ensure the maximum take-up for our Afghan staff on the UK resettlement schemes." Ministers have said that every individual applying to come here has to undergo a series of security checks before they are granted permission. They acknowledge that thousands are still there, but argue they're working incredibly hard to bring them to the UK.
To date, over 9,500 eligible individuals have already safely relocated to the UK under ARAP. We think that we've got about the same to go in terms of the number of people that are eligible.
The government has said the relevant part of the Afghan Citizens Resettlement Scheme for GardaWorld staff will start to take application requests from next week. The ACRS scheme primarily targets those who assisted the UK, but critics say it's too little too late, with some people already in danger. In a statement, the government told us, "We have opened the Afghanistan Citizen Resettlement Scheme, one of the most ambitious resettlement programmes in the world and the first bespoke scheme in Europe to begin resettling evacuees and individuals." There's a war in Ukraine and a cost of living crisis. The government's in-tray is far from empty, but there was a promise to help those who stood by the British. And it's that promise that many still stuck in Afghanistan are depending on.
If I was talking to the Prime Minister, I would say during the operation that they even brought dogs over from Afghanistan. But the people that have worked for the embassy, for Her Majesty's government, don't they have the rights? Aren't they a priority?